because I don't want people to walk away saying, oh, this is one more thing that people want me to pay for, or this is one more thing that, is going to, cost money. I mean, this is a movement, really, and I think it's really inspiring. So I just wanted to put it in those terms for you guys. Hey, it's Writers Row, where we talk about the writing community on Twitter. We talk about the business side of writing and the creative side of writing. I'm your host, DC Wright-Hammer, author of the Between Two Minds series, a sci-fi psychological thriller. And if you like what we've been doing on Writers Row, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and make sure that you share as much as you can of our content. We're trying to build this thing out and help out the writing community. This video, I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, and I'll let him introduce himself.
Thank you, DC. My name is David Gane. I am a young adult murder mystery writer, and yeah, that's all I got for me. I don't have like the big show of, subscribe to our channel, although you should subscribe to our channel and comment down below.
Hit subscribe.
In the diddly-doos.
David, we have two special guests this episode. And
I don't even know what this is going to look like when we put it to tape.
I'm really excited. First off, yes, it is our first four-way, which might sound gross, but I'm going to put it out there
with you.
And acknowledge it, so that way the awkwardness is sort of spread evenly throughout all of our viewers.
That's nice of you.
And so I'm going to start with our returning guest. And I'll let her introduce herself.
I'm Dawn Hosmer. I'm the author of Bits and Pieces and have a second book coming out in August called The End of Echoes.
Are we going to be talking about that book a little bit tonight?
I hope so.
That's awesome.
I would like to.
We better talk about that for sure. And our newest guest, I'll let him go ahead and introduce himself.
I'm Jason Stokes. I'm the author of Watcher, a more or less suspense thriller, and the upcoming Ghost Story, which is a paranormal road trip. And I'm also the owner of Gestalt Media, which a few of you are familiar with.
And we're going to get to know better, right? Today?
I hope so.
Really? The cat? Which one? Okay, so we set up a rule on one of our last podcast or on one of our last videos that every time a cat shows up, somebody has to drink. It doesn't have to be non-alcoholic, but you do have to have a drink.
You're going to drink so much.
Water.
I have water in the background too, so we're all good.
And coffee.
Cool.
It's going to turn into Natasha's episode where she had 20 drinks or something with her. Anyways, so I'm gonna get into it, DC, since you're just overwhelmed by it already, aren't you?
Go for it.
Okay, so the reason we actually wanted to get Jason on the show to begin with was because you tried to explain to us exactly what you did. I don't want to put the wrong words into this story. It's you use crowdfunding, right?
Yes.
And how and why and for what?
For money. What else would you use crowdfunding for?
So
I've used it for a variety of purposes. It came after my second novel. Anybody who's put out a novel by now knows that it is not cheap. I don't know what they tell people in school these days, but it is an expensive process. And if you want it to be anywhere near marketable, it is a very expensive process. So I spent a lot of money putting Watcher out, and I'm proud of it, but my bank account wasn't. And I had a second novel, Ghost Story, which was pretty much ready to go. And I was like, how am I going to fund this? So I really did look around, and I've noticed that there is a lot of enthusiasm, especially from comic writers, which I happen to be pretty good friends with. And they have a long track record of marketing their products through crowdfunding, receiving a whole lot of support up front, and that gives them what they need for printing, for doing the proofs, for getting cover designs done, for paying their artists, paying the bills. And it really works for that And I think it's true to the indie mindset that you're really going to the people instead of relying on places like Amazon or Ingram who aren't going to pay you for 90 days. So that's really how it started. I was like, I need to afford to make this thing.
And what kind of costs were you covering, if you don't mind me asking?
So it covers editor, which if I can just put my little note, if you're an indie writer and you're not using an editor, you're making a huge mistake. 99% of the time. Second, it covers cover design, which is the other major overlooked factor of almost every indie writer. A cover does matter. I don't care how good your 14-year-old cousin is at Photoshop. Get a cover designed for you by someone who knows what they're doing. And that's the main things that the crowdfunding covers, and as well as inventory. So if you're doing festivals, events, live shows, book signings in store, or you just need to take around copies to show to people, you need those books. So it covers that as well.
And you mentioned your second book is through this crowdfunding. And have you achieved your goal?
Well, my goal was very high. My goal was 3,500.
Okay.
And we did get 1,000, which was actually, it was more than enough because I already knew I was gonna cover anything that we couldn't get, but I tried to shoot high on the first one just to see what would happen. Learned a lot of lessons in that particular campaign. So I did achieve my goal, which was to make anything. And it did cover the full cost for cover design and the ISBNs and the barcodes and all the setup fees. It covered all of that.
Including the cat.
It did not cover the cat, who you will see about 5,000 more times.
And so the one thing I've always heard about crowdfunding, I like how he has like certain routes that need to be taken.
If you read my book, you'll see editor credits to this little monster because he has spent more time at my keyboard than I have.
That might be a problem. I don't know. So one thing I've always heard about crowdfunding, and it's the challenge is often just to get people there paying attention to you, and then also investing in your work. What kind of things did you do to bring that about?
To get people to notice it?
To notice it, to invest in it. Did you do any special marketing for it?
I did. So since this was my first one, I tried everything under the sun. So I did. It's like, try it. I don't care. Throw it at the wall if it sticks. We're going to use that from now on, and just throw everything else away. So I tried some Twitter marketing. There are groups that will amplify your message for you. I tried a few of those. We use Indiegogo specifically for a number of reasons, but they promote inside as well. So they do have their front page, and if you're doing well, you'll show up, and if you're not, you probably won't show up. But you can use their Twitter account, you can use their hashtags, and that really helps. I used Facebook ads, I used Amazon ads, I used word of mouth, and really the most effective thing was more or less like knocking on people's door and being like, "Hey, look at this. I have this thing going." And they were really supportive. I expected that to be the least effective method. Is like going to all my broke friends and being like, "Hey, I've put out a book 90 days ago, but I got this other one, and I'm crowdfunding it this time because I'm incredibly arrogant, apparently."
Okay, I want to clarify. You literally went knocking on people's doors. This wasn't like you went.
I went knocking on virtual doors. So I went knocking on virtual doors. So I took my messenger list and I went from top to bottom, and I contacted everybody on there. And some of them were like, "I haven't spoke to you in 8 years." I'm like, "I know, and this is a great icebreaker."
You are clearly going after the King Huckster title of mine. I
Trying
can see
so
that
hard.
now.
Told you.
He gets at least an honorary crown. I mean,
And that was the most effective, was going that path.
Yeah, people that I had a connection with were the most effective. I can't say it was the only one. It actually created relationships with people I hadn't spoken to forever who contacted me because they'd seen the advertisement. And some of the perks involved had to do with that. So I'm sure we'll get to discussing those. But yeah, it was people that I knew were more than happy to contribute, which was counterintuitive to what I thought. The writing community on Twitter was more or less engaged. We're all pretty poor, so I expected that. And then there was a fair amount of traffic that trickled in from the pay-per-click ads and things of that nature.
and well, I want to ask. So we did a video with Dawn several weeks ago that was, why is it so hard to sell a damn book? Like, why is it so damn hard? So you kind of talked about some of the things you did, but like, how do you sell not even a book? Like, you were selling the idea of a future book to people and asking them for money. I have a book in my hand, and sometimes that's not enough. So can you just maybe unpeel that onion, because it is.
I want to say it's because I did a really good video.
Okay.
And that's what I'm going to tell myself, because I slaved over that thing, and it is a marvel of modern production for every second that I'm not in it. All the scenes were brilliant. And the music was top choice. And it should win an award.
Go on.
But I don't know. I think we did really good on our perks. So one of my main perks was that I would write someone into a future novel. So they're not even in this book. So they're going to have to buy at least two. But so one of the higher tiers was that I was giving away a chance to have a walk-on. So your name, your likeness, in a future book in this series. And hopefully they read the whole series. But that seemed to really resonate with people. And this is when I learned that people like things that are about them.
Right.
And to be honest with you, tailoring the advertising more that direction, more this is what you're going to get out of it. This is how it's going to make your life better, because, you know, me with my little coffee can with change rattling around wasn't doing a thing. But giving them that, I used some interactive perks as well. Since it's a road trip, we're sending postcards from different cities that are mentioned in the book. Just giving them a way to be involved. And I think that really brought it home to a number of people who maybe didn't want to write a book, but did want to be involved in creating one.
Nice.
So that gave them a way to feel like they were connected to the project somehow.
So let's then ask the next question, which is, why is Dawn here?
Exactly. Good question.
Dawn's here because she makes questionable decisions, and I'm okay with it.
Okay.
And what questionable decision did you make, Dawn?
How long has it been, Jason? 3 weeks?
July the 4th.
Everybody's frozen.
Oh.
Okay. Everybody was frozen there for a minute. I think about 3 weeks ago, I signed a contract, a publishing contract with Gestalt to put out my next book, which is The End of Echoes. And I think, am I your first book client, Jason?
First novel, yes.
Okay. Well, that's not yours. I mean, you have a novel through the Imprint. But so as part of that, what I kept telling Jason is, I'm going to trust you, and I will do what you tell me to do, whether I'm comfortable with it or not, within reason. And so
go on.
Easy.
Within reason. and concerning my book. Okay. So one of the things he suggested was the Indiegogo campaign. So Jason, you can talk a little bit about why that is, maybe? Because
Sure.
I
Could
wonder.
we clarify what Gestalt Media is? I just want to make sure.
Sure. Gestalt Media is my imprint. So it is the publisher under which the best novels you're going to read this year come out.
Oh, but I'm not on there, so I don't know what's going on.
He said yet. I heard that.
You never know. You never know.
There we go.
So to answer your question, so for personal publishing, it was all about getting the upfront and kind of covering my own costs. But as I was running this, I started thinking about the complaints that I had heard along the way. So obviously, I hang out with a lot of writers, and all of them seem to hate their publisher. So the second I decided that I wanted to discover other talent, sign them, get them out in the world, help promote them, help increase their base in the world, I realized that everybody was going to hate me, and that's just how it was going to work. But I started listening to their complaints, and a lot of the complaints were what you would expect. Royalties weren't working out, and there wasn't a lot of feedback, and there wasn't a lot of personalization between the writer and the publisher. It was very standoffish. It seemed predatory almost in several cases. And one of the things I wanted to do was help get the authors a little bit of something early, get a little bit of return early in the process, instead of waiting, like we said, 90 days or 6 months or however long it takes a check to come. And then it's usually, not all that grand. So with Dawn, I thought we'd take a different approach. So we would go ahead and run pre-orders, but we would run them through the crowdfunding campaign style. And what this does, it gives that early return. So 30 days after you start the campaign ends. 15 days later, the money's in the bank account. You've already got a little something to show for your work. And I just felt like that was fair, and it was a little more author-centric, which is what we're focused on. It just gives a little back and shows our appreciation for taking the chance, because, we take a chance on the author, they're taking a chance on us. It's a symbiotic relationship. So that's really what spurred it on, was to try to get something going early, to get some early momentum and just get things going like that.
And how's it been going so far, Dawn?
I can't answer that question. I don't know. We've made some progress. I have it pulled up. We're 31% of our goal in.
Can I ask what your goal is?
We set $1,000 goal.
Okay.
So I'm at 310 right now, which really is amazing. Honestly, because for a quarter selling a lot of books with bits and pieces, I sometimes wouldn't bring that amount in.
Right.
So that is an amazing amount to make in 10 days. So it's more about me stepping out of my comfort zone to do what Jason tells me to do in terms of asking people to support the campaign.
Is that your cat, Jason?
Yeah.
Sounds like a
small child screaming.
Sounds like a small child.
You don't understand. You could do a whole episode on these things. It is a living nightmare, and they're an ever-present part of my life that I've tuned out. So there you go.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, Dawn.
My cat's gonna come in and they're gonna take over.
Oh my gosh.
Did you see his cat was on the roof the other day? He posted that on Twitter. That cat can jump on the roof. So
Wow.
Yeah.
He can't jump off the roof, and that's why I have the scars.
Can you call this episode Crowdfunding and Cats, please, DC?
Yes.
People will sign in for just the cats alone.
Exactly.
Who cares about the crowdfunding? Let's learn about these cats.
I don't.
Okay, Dawn. So what has been the hardest thing for you to have done in the process of doing this?
I think, and the thing I keep being resistant about with Jason is I feel like everything that's happened with Bits and Pieces has happened organically. So it has gotten a lot of traction, but it's all been through organic interaction or just people being interested in wanting to buy the book. So the hardest thing for me has been to actually, if someone says, oh, I can't wait to read the end of Echoes, it's for me to then say, oh, would you be interested in pre-ordering? Check out my campaign. So I guess more asking for the sale. That has been difficult for me. I told Jason, I spent years in sales, doing jewelry sales. And my managers hated me because I would not be a high pressure salesperson. I just was organic in my approach, but then I always had the highest sales in the company. So that's just who I am. I'm very laid back. Well, no, I'm not laid back at all. But with sales, I'm very laid back. So that's been hard for me, is to ask.
And is it getting easier as you're doing it? No. You're how many days into this?
10 days.
Okay, and you have how many more days?
20 days.
Okay.
And I told Jason, at some point I do need to, I think, do similar to what he did, and that is reach out to some of the people that I know loved Bits and Pieces, that I think this book would appeal to, and ask them, because ordering through the campaign, they are getting a little bit of a better deal than what they would if they ordered through Amazon. So there are perks for the readers as well, because like they can get Echoes and a signed copy of Echoes and a signed copy of Bits for probably $10 less than they can on Amazon. So there are some perks in it for them as well.
Nice. And those are being mailed out in like a month-ish kind of time?
Jason?
Middle to late August.
Okay.
Yes.
So once the campaign wraps up, you start delivering on that aspect of things. Nice.
And what I tried to do on my campaign, I did a video. Jason encouraged me to do a video, so I did. But part of what I focused on in my campaign, because my book is, of course, pretty dark, and so I focused on like self-care and care of others, because when you write, those of you who write dark things know that you need to take care of yourself to get your mind out of that dark place. So I tried to focus in my campaign on the things I enjoy, and do little perks around that, like board games or dinners out and that type of thing.
Nice.
Yes.
And what's the best perk that you've got? I'm just curious. Like, what's the top tier?
What was the top? Do you remember, Jason? Was that a Skype with me to ask questions? And
you know how to find out?
Well, if it's a Skype, then I've already got it right now.
Yes, I will be sending you a bill, David.
Yes. Oh, wow.
DC's like, and I'm sending you a bill.
Uh-huh.
Look at the bright side. You're going to get like 5 or 6 novels delivered to you as well. Yes, that was the top tier. The one below that was a gift card to a restaurant in your hometown, and both novels. I believe the ebooks as well. And then one below that, we did the one of your favorite board games, which is pretty quirky. I actually like that one. I never would have thought of it on my own. I like that one a lot.
So I just want to point out, I've said in other videos that independent does not mean alone. I think that's the sort of idea that's out there for everyone. I'm an independent author. It means I control everything. It means I do everything. It means this and that. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I think some people have had success with it. But I think that For the majority of independent authors, it becomes like just spreading yourself so thin that you can't focus on any one thing and make traction anywhere. And so I kind of want to just put things into perspective that what Jason is doing with Gestalt Media, what he's tried to do with the crowdfunding, what he has done, and what Dawn is doing now. I don't want people to leave this video thinking, oh, they just, we already don't have money, this or that. I'd like it to spark something inside of them to say that if Jason can start something like that, if Dawn can do something like that, it's not just them. I mean, they're great, hardworking people who came up with the idea and they're doing it. But being independent does not mean alone. And doing things like this, where we cooperate, we collaborate, and we work together to help each other out, is, I think, the best way to promote independent work. In fact, I think we're going to find that that's the way the big publishers actually do it. They pool all the money from all their authors, and that allows them to then have this flexibility to shift funds wherever they want to. And we don't have that flexibility until somebody does something like what Jason is doing. So I just wanted to put it in those terms, because I don't want people to walk away saying, oh, this is one more thing that people want me to pay for, or this is one more thing that, is going to, cost money. I mean, this is a movement, really, and I think it's really inspiring. So I just wanted to put it in those terms for you guys.
Thank you.
Well, and I think you want to go first, Jason?
Oh, I was gonna say I may quote him on that. If I'm gonna run this back and transcribe that and just put it on everything. So
Absolutely.
Exactly. Well, and I think that's part of, because this next book, I am signed with another publisher as well, the one that put out Bits and Pieces. But part of the issue when you sign with small publishers is they can't produce as quickly. They can't put out the product as quickly as I can produce. And so I wanted to get this other book out this year, and I could have done it on my own. But like you said, DC, I don't want to do this on my own. I want a partner, and I want someone to come alongside me, because I don't have all the answers. And what I found is sometimes even Jason and I messaging back and forth, he'll say something that I never thought of, or hopefully I once in a while say something he's never thought of. But it helps just to have someone else to bounce your ideas off of and say, look, what do you think about trying this? So I agree. I think that when we try to be independent authors alone, it's hard. And to have people in our corner, even if it's just on a bad day, saying, you know what, take a break, play with your cats, watch a movie. I think I've had to tell Jason this a few times. He doesn't listen. But, it's just, take a break, walk away. It's not a big deal. I think that helps sometimes.
I agree.
Yeah,
that's actually one of the things that I heard the most in complaints was that there was no back and forth. You can't do this by yourself, and you shouldn't do this by yourself. You need other opinions. You're not writing a book for an army of people just like you. That's just not how it works. If you wanted that, then just write it, read it, put it in a drawer, and be done with it. But if you want it to appeal to the masses, you want to get out to the world and spread your message, then you should probably have other opinions involved. You should definitely have different backgrounds and different perspectives to kind of help you see what you can't when you've been working on something for 13 years now. You've been working on Echoes?
Yes, my Echoes was the first novel I wrote, and that was 13, maybe 14 years ago. And so I queried it over 100 times. And so when you go through that process with something, you can feel pretty defeated about it by the time it comes around where you're like, okay, I want to do something with this. And like Jason said, that's where beta feedback came in, because I purposefully chose people to read it that had read Bits and Pieces, because I'm like, okay, I need to know, is this an okay follow-up novel? Because that's scary to put out your second book. And some of them liked it more which I was blown away. I'm like, wow, really? So hopefully readers feel that way. And I feel like some readers of bits might not like it as much, but as Jason's encouraged me, I'm probably opening up to a whole different set of readers as well. So we'll see.
That too, I've noticed that's one thing I'm seeking right now is we have our group of Shepherd and Wolf readers, but it's a select group. So yeah.
Well, and I just think, sort of getting back to my last point, like you're spreading the risk, you're spreading the responsibility, you're spreading out the uncertainty, and David and I still haven't gotten to that episode of all the things you need to do as an author that aren't writing, that are websites and, like you were saying, ISBN numbers and barcodes and getting your pricing right, getting your discounts right, getting, following up on this one marketing campaign, and just all the things that just can drive you insane, because once one thing goes wrong and then the next thing goes wrong and you just find yourself, and then, oh, I'm supposed to be doing writing too? Like, how can I do all that? So I'm belaboring the point, but I think it's worth belaboring, because those are the things that burn out good independent authors, and that's a shame. And so if you could spread that out, I don't know exactly how that works with Gestalt Media necessarily, but again, I think that's really cool. So really impressed.
Awesome.
If I can share too, and I'm not going to use names, but one of the cool things in this campaign that seriously brought me to tears one night was early in the campaign, and I logged on, and one of my Twitter friends, and if they watch, they know who they are, who they donated without any of the perks selected, just donated $100 to my campaign. And I reached out to this person, and I'm just like, wow. I mean, you talk about touching, but he said, I really believe in what you're doing. I support you. I watched your video. You're doing this for the right reasons, because this book does talk a lot about very serious issues like domestic violence and missing children and murder victims. I mean, so it does talk about very important issues. And he's like, I just support what you're doing. And that meant more to me than 100 sales from someone I don't know. Because that was somebody taking a step and saying, I believe in what you're doing and I believe in you. So that was a pretty cool experience.
So I love that. I also want to say, I love the idea that you can actually just donate without perks. Like that's wonderful. Sorry. That's exciting as well. So yeah.
Well, that's one of the things that happens the most often is you get those little surprises, and I think they boost a lot of the morale that we can lose on a daily basis. People that you never expected. Much in the same vein, I ran my campaign throughout June, and one of the top contributors. We kept in touch. I mean, we're friends, but we started talking about the process, and he started talking about the future. And not only was he the largest backer of the book, but he's also the largest backer of the imprint. So he came along afterward on the strength of seeing the video, like with Dawn. The videos work. I know she didn't want to do it, but the videos work. They allow you to connect with your readers and explain why this is important to you. And he was so impressed that he ended up becoming a partner in the business. So more than just selling books can come from this. It really gives you an opportunity to find who your fan base is, to express yourself, and to explain why is this story important and why should you read this one in particular. I like that about it.
There's one thing I wanted to talk to Jason about before we left. I saw the post by Gestalt Media that you've got some big names that have partnered with you on a campaign. I don't want to steal any thunder, so can you just describe what that is all about? And feel free to drop some names on Writers Row, the YouTube channel that is dedicated to writing community. Subscribe below.
So many names. So if you want to see me get excited, this is the thing to talk about, because I never thought it would come this soon. So we'll start off with the downer part of it. So if you remember, May 31st, I always say the 30th by accident, May 31st in Virginia Beach, there was a shooting at the Municipal Center. 12 people died that day. I'm not from Virginia Beach, but I did live there for several years, and a lot of my friends and family still do live in that area. One of them reached out to me, and he said he had an idea, and he wanted to publish an anthology with 100% of the profits going to benefit the families of the victims of that day. And he knew that I had just started up a publisher, an Imprint, and did I want to be a part of it? And there was zero hesitation. Absolutely. This is what we stand for. Like this, if there's anything that defines what Gestalt is about, it's like that. It's making a difference, making a positive difference. So I was completely on board. He said, "Well, I know a few people. So give me a couple days. I'm gonna see who's interested, and I'll get back to you." So he gets back to me a few days later, and he says, "Well, what about Richard Chismar?" I was like, "Absolutely. I mean, that's huge." So if you remember, he wrote Wendy's Button Box with Stephen King. And he's got a sequel to that coming out. And he said, "Well, we also have Lisa Morton, who is the president of the Horror Writers Association. And we also have Ray Garton, who is one of my heroes from the 80s. He's been writing horror since I was too young to read it, and probably shouldn't have." And the list just kept filling out. And it was name after name from people that I never thought I'd get to work with. They were all signed up for it. And then he goes, "Well, I do have another one." He says, "How about Neil Gaiman?" I said, "That would be super." He's like, "No, we have." He's like, he's more than happy to help out. So as it turns out, we ended up with, I think right now we have 25 of the top names in the industry. Some I can't say yet. Some are actually bigger than that, if you can believe that. I'll let you infer what you will. We've got writers from movies that have been out in the last few years. We've got just everyone you can name, and they're all on board, and it's 100% charity. So they haven't charged a dime for the rights. There's a lot of original stories, a lot of reprints. Even the cover has been donated. So it was a huge get. Everybody wanted to get on board, and I just couldn't be happier to be involved with that.
That's awesome.
That will be out October the 1st.
Wow. We're all kind of like just, wow.
Yeah. And that was my reaction too. I may have screamed a little. May have sounded like a 12-year-old girl. You know what? You weren't there. You can't prove it.
Only you and the cats know, right?
We couldn't tell the difference between you or the cat in that moment. So.
It's a similar sound.
It's really cool, Jason. I think again, the idea that we're not alone. That this is that it's people that are living life, and we all want the best, and that's true of us. The big names you named are people too, as much as we put them up on a pedestal. They're people, and they all have hearts too, and it's really awesome to see them kind of just doing what's right. Gestalt Media has so much to gain from publicity on this, but that's not what they're thinking about. They're thinking about that their work can go for something good and pass it through however it gets passed through, as long as the benefits go to the people that need it. That's really cool. And I don't know, if there was any question about Gestalt Media and before that, I think you throw that out the window. Like, serious player, serious, very humanistic. And my cat is actually excited about this. I don't know if you can hear it yet, but she's getting excited.
We're huge with cats between 3 and 7 years old.
Okay, she's like 10, but that's okay. No, it's you know, as impressive as anything else. It sets the tone. I think, you know, you got to look for the next. This sets the tone. Like now, you know, you're going to be doing things like this, and I'm sure. But don't. You know, this is a really big deal. So I knew we had to talk about it before we ended this because it's really cool. So,
Thank you.
That's awesome, Jason. Yeah, and Dawn, congrats hooking up with Jason on this.
I know. I'm excited.
I'm sure.
last
Seriously,
thing. Yeah.
if sorry to interject, but
Oh.
it is my heartfelt conviction. So I'll put it right out on video that Dawn is one of the most talented writers that I've come across since I've joined the writing community, and I've met God knows how many of you, and you're all great, but I couldn't be happier to be working with her. So I think it's going to be a good
Don't make me cry.
There
Don't
you
make me cry on camera.
Very cool. I'm going to put links in the description down below for like everything. There's no self-promotion or ad from my part on this. I'm just going to tell you to go donate to Dawn's book, and make sure to pick up in October, pick up the anthology that's coming out to help benefit you know, the Virginia Beach shooting, all that fun that's going on there. So we'll make sure to get all those links and everything in the description down below. Anybody got any final thoughts? Anything they want to drop?
Buy Dawn's book.
Huckster.
I wanted to hold up a copy. It's got the old cover of Jason's book, Watcher, which was a really good read. He has since redone the cover, but his books were in the car and it was raining. So I went and got my copy of his book. So it's a great read.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Thank you very much for both of you coming on.
Thanks, Jason. Thanks, Dawn. Thanks, everybody who's watched this long. Really appreciate it, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye.